everyone, welcome back to Teaching with Tania. In this video, I am showing you guys how I made my classroom management plan for college. Now, let me just preface and say, this is hypothetical because at this point, I didn't know what grade I would be teaching in the fall. So this is just what I made in my classroom management class, and I wanted to give you guys some pointers and things that you should include in your classroom management plan as well. So let's get right into the video. Alrighty, so as I mentioned before, this is just hypothetical. I just want you guys to realize the things that may go into a classroom management plan. I'll also put the link of the one that I'm referring to down in the description box below, so you guys can go ahead and check it out or follow along with me if you would like. So, getting started, when you go to my landing page, I use the Google Sites for this because it's easy to add tabs, take away tabs, and that's what my professor told us to do. So it was pretty easy to navigate. So if you're a professor, let you choose any website to make a digital plan, I would suggest using Google Sites as well. So starting off, when you first go to my page, I have my classroom management plan across the top, and then I have a home, basically introduction, saying that, hey, this is my classroom management plan, all of this. I also use this to get my job that I currently have now, just so they know like I've thought through, well, I'm going to think through all of these things to implement it in my classroom. I'm just going to read my introduction at first, and then you guys can go ahead and click the link and follow along with me. But just in case you can't get it, for my intro, I just said, welcome to my classroom management plan in first grade. This is my management plan where you'll see, I basically preface them, whether it be saying my classroom management arrangement, my classroom management plan, my crisis intervention plan, all of that. So that's my intro, and I also put a key picture there and my logo, of course, Teaching with Tania. If you're not subscribed, why aren't you subscribed? Instagram, I am Teaching with Tania without the G in teaching, just Teaching with Tania. Go ahead and follow me there where I post every week. Okay, moving on to my philosophy of classroom management. This is a paper that I pretty sure I had to turn into my professor. They edited, and then I was able to put it in here and make some corrections. Basically what I believe classroom management should look like and how I plan to implement it in my classroom. That was just a full out document I was able to put under my heading, Philosophy of Classroom Management. Next up, I have my classroom arrangement. This was actually pretty hard because I picture that I have a picture on there so you guys can go ahead and take a look at it, but it took a minute to get this up there. For some reason, it wasn't letting me do it, but I was able to create my own classroom arrangement. Basically, this is what I want my classroom to look like, and then underneath I was able to state why I arranged my classroom that way and basically my philosophy behind it. He and my professor was looking that I was able to arrange a classroom effectively and also give logical understanding of why I would put this desk here or this couch here or this arrangement here, just so that they know I'm able to create a safe and cohesive classroom environment for my students. Moving along to the rules, titled rule, consequences, and reinforcements, basically showing a potential principal or hiring team that I'm able to think through my rules. I only have 5 rules on here, and I go into depth about why I chose those rules for my class. Hypothetically, remember, this is also first grade. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. This is hypothetically for a first grade classroom that I would create this for. In this plan, I also go into depth of my consequence system. How am I going to discipline or correct students when situations occur? On top of that, how I will reward them when they have good positive behavior. I go into depth on how exactly I would do that on this page. I also took into account that each student is not motivated by the same thing. So if I did say I need a individual plan for a student, I also put that in there as well. The goal for that page is to be able to show that I understand where students are coming from and that I'm able to motivate them. The next one is procedures and routines. I'm actually reading a book on this, and I just love procedures and routines because that's basically how you get students to learn. If they know when they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, I feel like it creates a better flow to your school day. On this page, I had to write like 20 procedures or routines that I would walk through with the students, and I'm just going to name some examples off of the site. So I did like my morning routine, how I want students to turn in their homework folders as well, and what I want turning in papers to look like also at the end of the day. how I want students to be able to go through that, and community materials, just things that students will need to know how to do, when to do it, like all of that. I just go into detail more on all of those subjects in my plan. Moving right along, because I don't want this video to be too long, and I know it can be a lot and very overwhelming at first, but I also included my beginning of the year activities, basically what I will send to parents, what I will send to kids, how I will introduce myself. There's also a sample letter of how I introduce myself, of course with a picture of me. I would probably potentially give this to a student or a parent. On this side, I also gave a class supply list that is hypothetical, of course, what I will need to teach a first grade class effectively. I have a school supply list there for that because that goes along with all the beginning of the year things. Next, I have engagement activities. How do I want my students to engage, whether it's raising their hand or when we move areas, whether it's from the carpet to their desk or from the desk to the line. How do I want students to engage with me or know that they're learning? I also have a paragraph in here about when other students are talking, what I want that to look like in my classroom. Next, I have the link to my teacher/class webpage. I had to create a class webpage, which took me a long time. Like, I remember doing this assignment, I was like, oh, I'm almost about to turn in late, but I didn't. I turned it in right on time. For my class webpage, of course, it's hypothetical. So basically what I would include in my class webpage and what I want my students to do at home and what they do at school, and how to basically blend that well so that everybody knows where to go and it's easy to access. I don't know if I mentioned this, but now that I'm thinking about it, this took the whole semester, so don't overwhelm yourself trying to make sure you have everything, each tab completed. Thank God my professor spread this out so we wasn't cramming at the end of the semester. My crisis intervention plan, I had to pick 3 scenarios that I would respond to and the steps in which I would do that. So for example, I picked a nosebleed if a student threw up, and you guys can go ahead and read how I would handle that in my plan as well. Oh, and the last thing was if a student had a seizure, how I would handle that. And like I mentioned before, these are all just things to get your mind thinking about what possibly you will need in the classroom or things that could happen in the classroom. Trying to make it as real as possible. So I appreciate my school for making me do this. My last tab here is skills for social emotional learning. Of course, we're trying to implement that and allow students to be more aware of their emotions in the class, whether it's good or bad. I'm trying to identify them. So ways that I would do that in my classroom are having students set goals or pinpoint where they're at emotionally and how they feel, and give them sentence starters to be able to articulate that emotion, and I care cards, affirmations. There's so many different ways you can implement social emotional learning in the classroom, and I cannot wait to do this with my students in the fall. That is it for my classroom management plan. If you have any questions for me down below, please go ahead and put them down in the comments. I would love to get back to you, or even put them in my Q&A. I'll be doing that soon. I hope you get some inspiration or use my plan as an example to get some juices flowing in your head, depending on how you have to implement your classroom management plan. Classroom management can be scary at first, but once you get the hang of it, I feel like the more practice, the better you get. I personally love it myself, so of course, that's why I did this video for you guys. But anytime, go ahead and check out these videos right here, and I'll see you guys in my next video.